1966, dense jungle north of Saigon. An American infantry patrol has pinned down a squad of Viet Cong. Machine guns fire. Helicopters circle overhead, sealing off the perimeter. There's nowhere to run. The Americans advance to finish the fight. But when they reach a clearing, there's no one there. No bodies, no bloody footprints, no tracks leading into the bushes. The enemy didn't retreat. They simply vanished. For months, the American military was paralyzed by this disappearance. They built a massive, impenetrable fortress, Chi base camp, with tanks and searchlights. Yet, every single night, soldiers are killed inside the wire. The attackers appear, strike, and vanish without a trace. The Americans feel like they are fighting ghosts, until one of the soldiers accidentally kicks a dull termite mound. It shifts. Beneath it, a wooden panel is revealed, perfectly camouflaged by mud and leaves. But the thousands of soldiers marching through the camp have no idea that right under their feet lies a vast city, hidden for 250 kilometers. The Chi tunnels didn't start as a military operation. They were a way to survive. It began in the 1940s as a hiding place from French bombs. By the time the Americans arrived, the system had been growing for 20 years. The secret was the soil itself, red laterite clay. When it dries, it becomes as hard as concrete. It doesn't collapse under the weight of tanks above, and it doesn't crumble when a bomb explodes nearby. The tools? Short-handled hoes, wicker baskets, human hands. That's it. The Vietnamese dug only at night to avoid patrols. They carried the dirt away in baskets and scattered it across fields so aerial reconnaissance wouldn't spot fresh piles of earth. The entrances were tiny, only 60 centimeters wide, just enough for a small Vietnamese person to squeeze through, but far too narrow for a large American soldier in full gear to follow. The Viet Cong understood that fighting the US above ground was suicide. The Americans had overwhelming firepower and air superiority. So they went below, turning the tunnels into a 3-level hell. Level 1, 3 meters deep, for quick access and ambushes, shallow but safe from standard artillery. Level 2, 6 meters deep, safe during heavy bombardments. Level 3, 9 meters deep, designed to survive direct hits from the largest conventional bombs in the American arsenal. This wasn't just a hideout, it was a fully functioning city. There were hospitals where surgeons operated by candlelight, weapons factories where captured American ammunition was recycled into new mines. Kitchens used ventilation systems that channeled smoke horizontally through hundreds of meters of dirt before emerging far from any entrance. It was impossible to locate from the air. At its peak, 10,000 people lived in the tunnels simultaneously. They were born there, married there, died there, all while operating 9 meters below the boots of the American soldiers walking above them. The US Army refused to believe they could be defeated by dirt. They threw the full weight of 20th century technology at the ground. First, they tried to crush them from the sky. Operation Rolling Thunder, B-52 bombers dropped thousands of tons of explosives across the Chi district. Trees vanished, replaced by a moonscape of craters. But 9 meters down, the third level remained untouched. The Viet Cong simply moved deeper, waited for the ground to stop shaking, and then used the new bomb craters to collect rainwater. Then, they tried poison. Agent Orange. Aircraft sprayed millions of gallons of defoliants to strip the jungle bare. But the tunnels didn't care. The Viet Cong emerged into a wasteland where it was now actually easier to move at night because there was no undergrowth to slow them down. Next was the water cure. Engineers pumped thousands of gallons of water directly into the holes. But the Vietnamese had designed the system with watertight trapdoors. They would seal off a single section, sacrifice it to the flood, while the rest of the 250-kilometer network remained bone dry. Finally, they sent in the dogs, German shepherds trained to sniff out human breath. The Viet Cong responded by rubbing stolen American soap and sprinkling black pepper around the vents. Handlers watched in frustration as their elite dogs, blinded by pepper and confused by the friendly scent, walked directly over hidden trapdoors. Every technological advantage was neutralized by wooden panels, red clay, and handfuls of pepper. The machines failed. The bombs, the gas, the dogs, none of it worked. So the commanders fall back on the oldest military tactic in the book: send the infantry in to clear it out. A squad of regular American soldiers is ordered into a discovered tunnel entrance. They are geared up according to standard US military protocol: helmets, heavy flak jackets, ammunition belts, grenades, standard issue M16 rifles. Each man is carrying over 20 kilograms of gear. A 19-year-old soldier, over 180 centimeters tall, lowers himself into the 60-centimeter wide hole. Immediately, disaster strikes. His broad shoulders wedge against the hardened clay. He tries to bring his M16 rifle up to aim into the darkness, but the barrel is too long. It hits the dirt wall. He can't turn the gun. He can't even turn his head. He tries to back out, but his combat harness catches on a thick tree root protruding from the ceiling. He is completely stuck, trapped in a pitch-black tube, unable to move forward or backward, unable to aim his weapon, suffocating from the heat and the crushing claustrophobia. His squad mates on the surface have to literally grab him by the ankles and drag him out backward before he has a panic attack. The commanders watch this happen and realize a terrifying truth: the entire United States military doctrine is useless here. Their super soldiers are too big, too heavily armored, and completely unequipped for a war fought in a pipe. If they want to fight the Viet Cong underground, they have to break every rule of modern combat. They can't use regular troops. They need a completely new breed of soldier. When technology failed, the US Army made a decision that no one involved would ever forget. They sent in the tunnel rats. They looked for the smallest, leanest men in the division. They stripped down. No helmets, no body armor, no rifles. They entered with only a flashlight, a knife, and a Colt 1911 pistol. The entire might of the US military was reduced to one man with one handgun, in complete darkness. Inside, they faced a primitive nightmare: punji sticks coated in poison, bamboo vipers hidden in clay pots rigged to shatter, scorpion boxes hanging by invisible threads. But the worst part wasn't the traps. It was the encounters. Imagine crawling through a dirt tube so narrow your shoulders scrape the walls. You turn off your flashlight to avoid being seen. Complete darkness. Then you hear it, breathing, and it isn't yours. You freeze. You feel the air shift. An enemy soldier is crawling directly toward you in the pitch black. You are 2 meters apart. Neither can see the other. The American clicks his flashlight on. A face appears in the beam. A knife flashes. The American fires. The deafening roar of a .45 caliber pistol in a tiny dirt tube shatters your eardrums. The muzzle flash leaves you completely blind. Then, total silence returns. You are lying in the dark, suffocating in gunpowder smoke, ears ringing, not knowing if the enemy is dead or if he is still waiting just inches from your face. That was the psychological toll. The nightmares weren't just about the firefights, they were about the claustrophobia, the darkness, and the terrifying sound of someone else breathing. For years, the Americans thought the tunnels were just a place to hide, a defensive bunker. They were completely wrong. It was a massive staging ground. January 1968, the US government is telling the American public that the enemy is exhausted. The war is almost over. But 9 meters underground, the enemy isn't exhausted. Tens of thousands of Viet Cong fighters are moving silently through the Cu Chi network. They are hauling weapons, ammunition, and explosives right beneath the boots of American patrols. They are bypassing every fortified checkpoint, bypassing every radar. They are walking miles underground, heading directly toward Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam. On the night of January 30th, the ground literally opens up. The Tet Offensive begins. Viet Cong fighters pour out of hidden exits on the edge of the capital. They attack the US Embassy, the Presidential Palace, the national radio station. The American military is completely blindsided. How did an entire army sneak into the most heavily guarded city in the country? They didn't march through the jungle. They walked beneath it. The Tet Offensive shattered the illusion that the United States was winning the war. It broke the American public's will to fight. And the deadliest surprise attack of the Vietnam War was orchestrated entirely from a dirt tube. The final score: 9 years, billions of dollars, and the most advanced military technology ever assembled against peasants with shovels. The peasants won. By 1975, when the last American forces left Vietnam, the Cu Chi tunnel system was still operational and intact. They had outlasted the full military and technological might of the United States of America. The tunnels proved that the most powerful weapon in any war is not an aircraft carrier or a satellite. It is the willingness to keep digging when everything above ground has been taken away. The Cu Chi tunnels are still there today. 250 kilometers of history dug by hand, and they outlasted everything.